Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers
It's a very abrupt
NTK
ending, wasn't
show.
it?
It was very sharp. I was there practicing the intro and all that, I was getting the voice ready and trying to make sure it was professional. And then you just threw it at me, but yeah, that's the way we deal with these things. Anyway, welcome to the LFC Daytrippers NTK, No Transfer Knowledge Show, for your weekly dose of transfer tittle tattle from ourselves here, who claim to have no information whatsoever, only what we hear and read along the usual channels. And we will talk about all things. This week it won't be just Liverpool, though we will be talking about Liverpool stuff. We'll be talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly from all around the transfer world. Tonight I'm joined by the main man himself. Gav, how are you?
I'm great.
You look it. You look it.
Darwin Nunez. Any doubts I had over him once he was stood with the shorts meeting the socks in that picture, I was like, yeah, I'm all over this now. He's literally going to score 80 goals next season. So that's how quickly I can change on a player. It's amazing.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. We're not going to die on any hills on this channel. We'll be quickly changing our tune on players as they come and go. Ash, good to have you back. How are you?
Oh, well, good. Thanks, Keith. Thanks for having me back. Bit sunburnt from a heavy drinking session on Saturday, so I'm a bit sore on the arms. But apart from that, mate, all good. Good to hear about what happened on Friday with the golf day and everything. So that was a big shout out to Gavin, the boys there, and you and your playlist as the famous playlist, as everyone keeps going on about. So big shout out to you lot for that as well. But yeah, apart from that, mate, all good. Nunez finally through the door. Everyone's happy now, surely.
Good stuff. And just to say, we don't condone daytime drinking on the LFC Daytripper, so Ash is speaking for himself.
Hold on. I absolutely encourage it. And the only thing I don't condone is not using proper sunscreen.
That's it.
Yeah, that's my fault there, yeah.
Look after your skin and your skin will look after you, Ash. Did you never hear that old
it's look after your skin and the drink will look after you.
That's it.
I was too busy drinking rather than concentrating on what the sun's going to do to my skin, I'm afraid. So
these things happen. And delighted to be joined by Mr. Matt Gell again from all the way from Canada. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing good, Keith. It's a good day to be on to talk transfer stuff. You can take one out of the rumor column and put it into the confirmed column, and it's absolutely brilliant. And it couldn't even be better. Today is Charles Darwin's birthday, so it's truly Darwin Day.
Is it really?
No.
Oh, I was hoping it was. That would have been great, wouldn't it? That would. In fact, you know what? Because we're not into fact checking things here, and now we're going to keep it.
It's Charles Darwin's birthday.
Charles Darwin's birthday.
Yeah.
Could be Charles Bronson's birthday. Celebrating them all. Yeah, we're celebrating them all here. But look, lads, it's as Matt touched on there, when the signing happened, everyone's happy, everyone's buzzing, and this one is no different because of the sheer scale of it, Gav, isn't it? Like, you're looking at potentially smashing our transfer record, and if that does happen, it'll be because the transfer has been a success, really. So are you excited about it? I know you mentioned there that you change from 1 minute to the next with these things, but from what you've seen and heard about Darwin Nunez, are you excited to see what next season brings?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you know me, I don't watch loads of Portuguese football. I don't watch loads of football. I just watch loads of Liverpool and a good bit of the Premier League. I've other things to be doing, like cutting out that slice I'm hitting off the tee. But look, there's been a lot made of it over the last couple of days. 64 million is the price. If he goes and wins a Premier League and a Champions League with Liverpool, we'll pay 85 and we'll quite happily pay it. And that's how transfers work. There's loads of add-ons on a lot of transfers. There's been a lot made of this. We called last night's show Darwin's Asterix, just simply because we could. But look, he's come in. There's a quote going around from Klopp. I don't know how true it is or how real it is, but he's just basically saying he's a great player. He has so much ability, and he can actually get better and better. And if you just go off that season that he's had with Benfica, how he played against Liverpool, a higher standard of player he's going to play with at Liverpool, if you're being fair. And Jurgen Klopp's track record for taking players, whether they're 30, 40, 50 or 70 million, and making them even better and better, because Virgil van Dijk has gone up levels since he's arrived at Liverpool at 70, and so has Alisson Becker at 70. There's other players that were much cheaper and they've gone up levels, so I'm really excited by it. The more and more I look into him, and I was trying to really badly went about this on Sunday night, trying to figure out where he was going to fit and stuff like that. I was all over the place on Sunday night trying to just get it in my mind, but just looking at him and watching more and more goals he scored, it's just like he could fit in anywhere. But if you really need to, you know, hit the emergency button and stick him up front and make him an out-and-out number 9, he's absolutely made for that as well. So forget the fee. I've forgotten about it already. Darwin Nunez is a Liverpool player, and we'll be all looking forward to, was it the 12th or 13th of July when we play United in Bangkok, I think, and he could play in that game. So yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled with it, and it's gone through. He looks happy, everyone involved looks happy, and everyone else is fuming. So that's an added fucking bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, very true. Ash, you know, the Nunez deal goes through, and typical, you're having to justify the price. You're having to, Gav talks about an asterisk, because, you know, it gets thrown in on Nunez, then doesn't get put onto other players. Do you care about the price, and are you just excited to see him getting settled in?
I'm just excited. If I'm truthfully honest, I'm not going to turn around and say that I know a lot about his gameplay and I've seen much of him, because I'm like Gav, I don't watch Portuguese football. The only thing I've ever seen of him is when he's played against us in the Champions League, and I thought he was pretty good. Made Alisson produce an absolute out of this world save that was going to go in, so it's always a bonus. The fee is always going to get inflated. There's always going to be comparisons, and now, you know, apparently we've got no money, we don't spend and things like that, and all of a sudden we're spending astronomical amount of monies, and there's asterisks, as you say. There's 85 million, there's 64 million, there's figures being chucked everywhere, but it doesn't take a genius to work out that Haaland's more expensive in the long run compared to obviously the Nunez deal. But there's always that element of doubt that, you know, a high amount of money, is it gonna pay off? I trust Klopp, so if he wanted him, then by all means I'll have him walk straight through into the team tomorrow. I'm buzzing. I can't wait to see him, with him, Salah, and potentially Diaz more than likely on the left. I think that could work wonders next season.
Indeed, and Matt, you know, it's one that, right, it's been a long time being confirmed, but now that it is confirmed, do you see it being a case where Darwin Nunez goes straight into the Liverpool starting team, or can you see any situation where he might have to work his way in? So we could start with Salah, Diaz, Jota, or, you know, something like that. Do you think he goes straight in when you're paying that fee for a player? He goes straight into your starting lineup, or how do you see it playing out with him?
I think at the start of the season, because of the congested nature of the fixtures before the World Cup, I think that Klopp's going to try to rotate the front at a pretty consistent level, with the exception of Mo. Mo will just probably play basically every game except for the League Cup early round sort of thing. So I think he's going to play, but I don't know if he's going to be a nailed-on starter every time. But he provides, like, the one thing about him that really got me excited was seeing that he's just blisteringly quick. Like, seeing that he has express pace. And so one thing I noticed from last season was how dangerous Trent gets in a situation where pretty much every other fullback in the world, it's not dangerous. And that's when he's retreating from an attacking position on his weaker foot. And he has this ability to just hook the ball with his weaker foot when their line is trying to push up. Our defenders are cutting in. And now you add a guy like him that's big and can take the ball down and has that speed. It is a tantalizing proposition thinking about Trent Alexander-Arnold whipping the ball into Darwin Nunez. And the closer we can get it to the goal line where the header comes into it, he's a big kid. It's very, very exciting. So the price should have nothing to do with it. If that's what we have to pay to get the player that we want, we can't have our cake and eat it too. You know, all the people that bitch and moan every other transfer window that we don't spend enough money, and now we're spending money and people are bitching and moaning that it costs too much. So he's ours now, and he's going to be good, because that's just what Klopp does.
I think,
Indeed.
sorry, Keith, like,
No, go ahead,
I was looking at compilations of him, and like I said on Sunday night, like, is he that fast? And people like roared at me, you know, in the chat, or like, no, he's so fucking fast. Did you not see this? Did you not see that? And, you know, it is an asset he has, and when you go back and look at it, it's a huge asset he has. But for me, when you're watching the things about him, is when we see our strikers, like, or our forwards, Salah is usually pinned by two players, right? Yeah. Mane can be at times as well. Jota for me is a brilliant at getting in front of a defender or getting above a defender, even though he's not great in the air. He's a real instinctive finisher, I think, Jota. And if you give him a chance, the majority of the time he'll score. This fella, for me, I'm not saying he's any worse or better at this, but his ability to find space is mental. Like, there's a thing doing the rounds on Twitter today about a hat-trick he scores, and his ability to find space is mad, you know. And on top of that, he doesn't need loads of time when he gets that space. It's literally, he knows exactly what he's going to do. Like, there's a goal he scores in this hat-trick where the ball breaks in midfield and he's in the inside left channel, and you just see him take off, and he's given the ball, takes a touch, left foot, bang, far corner. The goal before that, ball in behind, comes in behind him, he lets it run past him, bang, right foot, far corner. Do you know what I mean? And it's just the ability to find space and be in and get into them positions that could be frightening. Because when you watch Liverpool, right, especially against teams that are in a low block and are trying to compress space, if you can find a guy that can find that yard when there's probably only half a yard available, it's absolutely huge. And I agree with Matt. I think there will be rotation. I think there'll be changes in system, both, you know, start the games and in game. But he looks like he offers so much in a couple of different ways. And, you know, Kev O'Sullivan says in the chat there, the only thing he'd be worried about is maybe the fee getting to him, because he is a young guy, 64 million, raising possibly to 85. I don't think the club will let that get to him. I think they'll literally go out and let him play his game. And if that means coaching a bit into him here and there, absolutely fine. But for me, I am getting more and more excited every time I see every clip of him.
Yeah, I mean, he moved from Almeria to Benfica for 24 million euros or 25 million euros 2 years ago. So he's had that sort of big fee, which was a record at the time. You know, I know it's even bigger this time, but, you know, I just think the mentality of these South American players, a lot of the time, they've got that street fighter sort of mentality in them, and they just get on with it. Do you know what I mean? There's been so many of them, and I know they haven't always all worked out, but majority of them, I wouldn't be worried. Dylan O'Rourke makes a good point in there that although Portugal isn't a top 5 league, I think it might be the most similar to the Premier League in terms of physicality and pace. Heaps of goals, fouls, cards, etc., and most transfers moved across well. And I think that's an excellent point by Dylan, because if you look at the players that come from Portugal, and we touched on this last week, but the likes of Ruben Diaz comes from Benfica to Man City, and the physicality of the Premier League doesn't look like it bothers them. Now, I know Man City aren't exactly getting bladen peppered with players trying to pin them back or anything, but, you know, there's this look at the Wolves team where Portuguese players are coming in all the time, or players from Portugal come in all the time, and they seem to settle nicely. And that's another thing. You know, Klopp has said he's name-checked the Portuguese league as one that he thinks technically is brilliant. And if we're putting this outlay in on a player, I just think there has to be you can never be 100% sure on a transfer, but there has to be a lot of certainty that this one's going to work. And I'm interested to see how it happens. But look, lads, that's Darwin, right? We could talk about them all night, but we won't. We're going to look at a few other teams around the league and the business that they're doing. I want to quickly have a little chat about Manchester United, right? Because Manchester United are linked with everyone. They are linked with everybody. I've been given names for players that Liverpool apparently are linked at, and when you go into Google them, just looking for links, all you see is welcome to Manchester United, including Darwin Nunez, by the way. You know, and they've every single one of them have these videos. But Ash, I'll come to you. Man United have got a big rebuild to do, because the amount of players they lost purely through contracts sort of running out. We are talking about Juan Mata, Paul Pogba, Nemanja Matic, Jesse Lingard. Like, there's a lot of changes there. But one they were linked with today was Christian Eriksen. Can you see Christian Eriksen to Manchester United being a goer, or how do you see that one playing out?
Well, it's certainly cause concern for his health again, I think, if he went back to Man United, if I'm truthfully honest. No, all jokes aside, Christian Eriksen is a good player. I'll take him at Liverpool. But I could see why they would go for Man United. why Eriksen is an interest for Man United. I think he would be more suited to staying at Brentford, if I'm truthful. I think he's settled there. He's loved. He's adored by the fans. Not saying that United fans wouldn't, but I think it's Eriksen 5 years ago. Yeah, maybe. I'm not saying that he's not half the player that he is, but I would think that he would still be better off in a Spurs or a Brentford rather than in Man United. I've done a bit of looking up earlier, and the players that they've been linked with are all Ten Hag previous players, aren't they? Like the Frankie de Jongs, the Antonys. It's the Ajax link. It seems to be, like when we had Benitez, it seems to be mostly Spanish players, wasn't it? And stuff like that. It seems to be what he's familiar with. Man United needs a massive rebuild. There's no ways about it. I mean, you could probably say they at least need 9 on a good day, but then that's not going to be done in one transfer window. Like I said, Pogba's gone, or going, should we say. Matic is gone. Lingard. The list is endless. But if you're going to ship out all those players, then you're going to need them all back in. And with the amount of names that they've been linked with everyone. We've got Pau Torres as well. Timber as well. I've never heard of Timber, to be fair. I've never ever heard of him, but that's another name that cropped up.
Yeah,
it just seems like because of the rebuilding process that they're in at the moment, every name is being linked under the sun. What they need to go for, I'd probably say the defence. Harry Maguire is just absolute kick. I wouldn't trust him at all. Yeah, I would probably say that you're going to see a lot of incomings, outgoings from Man United. Whether they're going to be the right signings, times will tell, really. But I can see the why the links are happening because of Ten Hag. He's all Ajax.
Matt, Ash touches on the Dutch or the Eredivisie links to Manchester United, and I suppose Christian Eriksen, while he wouldn't, I don't think, have played for I don't know where Ten Hag was coaching. He was at Bayern Munich, so no, he wouldn't have sort of featured on that Ten Hag when he was at Ajax. He did play for Ajax, and it's another Dutch connection there. Do you see most of these, as Ash said, as just being 2 and 2 equals 6 here, because they're just taking players from Holland? For example, Ibrahim Sangare, who Liverpool are linked with, is linked with Manchester United. Again, a Dutch player that Ten Hag knows well from the Eredivisie. Do you agree that they just need an absolutely huge rebuild there? And do you put any credence to this Christian Eriksen link there, or where do you see Eriksen ending up?
I don't see Eriksen ending up at Man United. There's Bruno Fernandes and him played the same position. Like, United would be foolish to not be playing Bruno Fernandes in his best position, which, right in the middle in that 10 role. But yeah, it's brilliant how much work Manchester United need to get done. I think a lot of it comes down to what Ten Hag thinks of the existing fullbacks, because towards the end, Rangnick did not favor Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw at all. Basically ran them out of the team almost. So if Ten Hag is the same way, they need some reinforcement at fullback. And I don't blame Ten Hag for going with what he knows. He knows the Dutch league, he knows Dutch players, and that Ajax team was pretty damn exciting. So Donny van der Beek will be back at Man United next season. So if they get Frankie de Jong in, that's a pretty decent midfield. It's certainly better than McFred. And to me, like, as a Liverpool fan, I would be concerned if he took that old Ajax link one further and went and got Matthijs de Ligt from Juventus. Because if he did that, that might actually start to fix Man United's defense, because it's terrible currently.
Yeah, the de Ligt one is strange because I see Chiellini signing for LA. So I'd say de Ligt, I don't think he will move there. I'd say Jordan Timber is the one that he will go for at the back. But Gav, the lads have touched on it there. The amount of players that we said are out of contract, but that's without, as Matt said, Wan-Bissaka, Luke Shaw look like they've been drummed out. Like, it's a huge rebuild there, and does it remind you of 10 years ago at Liverpool, where it was just like every name under the sun and nothing happening? Or can you see big moves happening into Man United this summer?
Look, you've seen quite a few going. Pogba's, I think he's yet to declare where he's off to. Juventus are being heavily linked there. Juan Mata's gone, Lingard's gone, Matic is gone, Cavani is gone. Martial looks like he won't figure for United. There's loads of players. loads of players are going out, and none of them will be really missed. It's not like someone's running down a contract like, oh yeah, Salah, where you're going, he's one of your best players. None of them will be missed. And I don't think many of them suit the way Ten Hag wants to play. He's playing it safe, I think, but he's kind of caught here because there is a rebuild, right? But it's still at the end of the day Manchester United, and we know how this rolls. United rock into the season after signing 2 or 3. They'll all convince themselves that they're going to be the business again. It'll go slightly wrong at some stage, and they'll all start crying again. All right, and then who did he start crying over? Well, they'll do the Glazers for a bit, but usually the fourth person is the manager. When it's if it's between now and Christmas, or now and the World Cup, and it's going wrong, the manager will get it in the neck. It's only when it goes on a bit further that they start turning on the Glazers. Usually around February when they find their yellow and green scarves and start acting up. But I understand where he's going, keeper. I was saying this in the Telegram group earlier. Who he's being linked with are good players, but with the squad he currently has there, and 1 or 2 of them don't hit the ground running if they come in, he's in trouble. Right? I think he is working off a budget. I think they offered Darwin Nunez more money than Liverpool did. They were definitely looking at that thing, but I think he does have a budget, and I think the club are being a little bit cautious with what they're trying to do, which is fair because they've been awful transfer-wise the last 4 or 5 years in particular. And he has a big, big job, Keith. It's a big, big job because, like Ash said, 9 players there, and you kind of gasp at that. But then when you actually look at it, you go, he's not far off. If he wants to play the way Ten Hag likes to play, Ajax press and they do this and they do that, Luke Shaw going to do that for you? No. If Wan-Bissaka presses, you'll eat him alive. I like McTominay. I do like him, but I don't think Rashford will put the work in for you. Ronaldo certainly won't. Sancho, I don't know. I think he's more of a front foot player. But I just think for United, they're being linked with all these players. On Eriksen, I think we're going to talk about Spurs in a bit because they're having a really good window so far, and it's early days. But if I'm Eriksen, I'm not going there. It's Europa League football, isn't it? It's Thursday, Sunday. You're literally at the start of the new dawn, as they would call it, Manchester United. But you don't know if the sun's going to come up, and the sun needs to come up for, so, and you just don't know if it's going to
go on with this sun analogy.
Yeah, but you don't know if it's going to come up there. So it's a big risk. Man United is a big risk for any player, and not because of the ability these players are being linked with. It's what they currently have there, the structure within the club, and how long they would actually give Ten Hag. I can see a situation where, they do really well next season. He gets them and he drills them and he says, look, we can't play exactly the way I want to play, but this is what we're going to do. And we're going, he can't press high with Harry Maguire in the team. Simple as that. He just can't. He's fucking awful. He can't turn. He can't run. And so he might have to alter what he's doing a little bit and maybe look that 2 or 3 windows down the road before he gets exactly where he wants to be. But players, I think, might be a bit kind of, do I go there? Because there's enough bits to that puzzle that just don't fit right now. And it could end up United going down to what they usually go down to, and that's throwing absolute wads of money at people and hoping it works. And I just think it's a huge, huge job. And I know it's Manchester United, but it's one I'm actually really intrigued by to see what he does, because he could go mad and do 5 or 6 this summer, or he could take his medicine and do 2 or 3 and look at this as a long-term project. But if it goes slightly wrong in any way, they'll go for him. And that's just the way they work.
Indeed. And I suppose it just goes to show, you can have a huge rebuild, and sometimes a manager will go in and can say, right, I want 11 of these players out of here, because we've named loads there that aren't fit for purpose, and you get them out. Or does he need to go in there and look at what he has and say, right, I'm going to have to get something out of this, and I'm going to have to just gradually improve this squad, but not too much at one time. And if we move on to another team, you've just mentioned there, Gav, Spurs. Matt, I'm going to come to you here. Antonio Conte's gone into Spurs. Antonio Conte has a defined way of playing. He has a set system that he always plays. He goes with 3 at the back. He goes with wing backs, wide midfield players, and he goes with sort of 3 up top, or 2 playing behind the central striker. Now, last season, they brought in Cuti Romero. They brought in Rodrigo Bentancur, and they brought in Dejan Kulusevski, and 3 really good additions to Spurs. Now, this summer, it looks like they're even strengthening even more and sensibly strengthening. So they've brought in Perisic, who will play on the left wing back role for them, I would imagine. They're linked with Jed Spence. Haven't bought him yet, but heavily linked with Jed Spence to fill in the right wing back role for them, which is a problem position for them as well. They are linked with Richarlison. I don't really get that one, but I suppose there's a lot of games to be played. Big money for him. But anyway, they're linked with him. But the one that's got everybody talking is a £25 million bid accepted for Bissouma. What do you make of Bissouma at Spurs and Spurs business in general, Matt?
Bissouma is a cloudy one just because of his whole court thing. And, even if he's not found guilty, it might not mean that he's also innocent at the same time. So, we don't know the particulars behind it. And there could be a reason why one club, I would have liked to think that Liverpool would have been sniffing around getting Bissouma out of Brighton. He looked like a pretty good, promising player. But that's, Conte is getting it right 100%. I'm expecting Victor Moses to be announced as, a backup squad option in the near future. But, even Fraser Forster is a good, solid backup goalie. They picked him up on a free. It's a homegrown quota ticked off. He looks like Jack Reacher, so that really helps as well, too. There's another defender, Gleison Bremer from Torino, that apparently they're linked with. And
Liverpool have been linked with him for years. Gleison Bremer. We've been linked with him a long, long time. Never thought there was anything in it, but he's a name that does crop up all right.
Yeah, well, Romero was, I think, a big signing for them. When they made that signing last year, because we had played Atalanta in the Champions League, and it was had seen him play against our forwards, and he's good. My brother-in-law is a Spurs fan, but it's Eric Dyer and Ben Davies, they have to upgrade on that. So if he can address that as well, Spurs could be in a really, really good position, and they're not spending a lot of money. So hopefully they don't go and muck that all up by spending, £60 million on Richarlison.
Very true, very true. Ash, Spurs business. Impressed by it? Do you agree with Matt that that they're filling in the needs, but they still have a couple of holes to fill?
Yeah, I completely agree with Matt. I think it's been pretty sound business from Spurs so far. The only one that I did scoff at was the Richarlison one. It just didn't make sense for the amount of money that's being touted around for him. And yeah, it'd be good business for Everton, but I don't see how he would benefit going to Spurs. In regards to what they have done so far, use Bissouma. Like I said, we've had links for him for the last couple of years. Very good player. I think you spoke about it last year, Keith, on the Trippers last summer. Big, highly thought of. Again, like Matt said, the court incident and whatever happens with that could be a interesting outcome. I would imagine Spurs has got enough information to know that it might be all right, hence the reason why they've gone for him. Perisic, he's been reliable for Croatia, and I could see and I could understand that signing. Jed Spence, again, I'm not all too familiar with what he's done, but again, what I have heard, he's a good player upcoming, would do a good job on the right. I think they've done good business. And like I said, this is their first season back in the Champions League, since we beat them in the final? So they need the numbers as well. They need to strengthen depth. But I think a couple central defenders, and I think there'll be a team to keep an eye on for next season, for definite.
Indeed. Wizard makes a good point there. The director of football at Spurs was the best signing they've made. The stay from Juve, and Conte knows he'll do the business. Paratici is very good there. But Gav, a lot of talk about the background is Bissouma, not an allegedly to be had by the lad. So I hope you have the lawyers on speed dial there just in case. But are you happy with Spurs business and Bissouma in particular? Because I know you sort of like Bissouma as a player, and he's a name that's been linked with Liverpool. And I think Matt said it there. Why have we not been at that price, why have we not been mentioned? Do you think we've moved on maybe from him, or why are Spurs getting a free run at this fella?
Well, I think he's out of contract next summer.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Look, there is allegations made against Bissouma. Everyone knows that. We don't know where it is at the moment. I would say Spurs know more than me and you about it, considering they've 25 million quid on the table. He's a very good player. And look, there's two things in this for me with Spurs. One, they need to strengthen because they're in the Champions League, right? They scrape into fourth last season after going out of, I think they were out of Europe before Christmas. It's around Christmas time, isn't it, when they don't play that game?
They forfeited out, yeah.
Yeah, some French team. Rennes. And so they basically have a 5-month run at the league, and they basically confirm it on the last day, and it's more or less down to Arsenal's collapse, because Spurs do have some dodgy kind of results in the last 7-8 games. If I remember right, they get beaten by Brighton. And there was 1 or 2 where they didn't look great, but they get through it. Arsenal held them in a massive way. There's 2 things to this for me though. They have to strengthen, and they see an opportunity. And the opportunity is kind of, there's a 2-pronged in this. One, what's going to happen at Chelsea, because alright, they've been bought for a colossal amount of money, but these people aren't going to come in and go, we've spent this colossal amount of money, let's continue to spend on the levels we've spent on. Because if you take away that 1.6 billion as to where it came from, Chelsea needed 1.6 billion above what they're earning to keep themselves going over the last 20 years, right? Which is not a healthy position to be in, all right? And I think that crowd come in at Chelsea, and I think they'll look to balance books to a certain extent. So you might see some transfers at Chelsea that are going to be a little bit shrewd, as you would call them. Now, they're losing Christensen, they're losing Azpilicueta, but that'll all depend on Barcelona getting their arse in gear. Lukaku's rumoured to be on the way out. There's a couple more. So Spurs are looking at this as an opportunity where they can look to take Chelsea's place in the top 3. I don't think Spurs are going to be naive enough, and I'm not writing them off by any means. People will say, you're writing them off completely. Spurs could go on a brilliant run next year and challenge for the title. We've seen it. But I think they're looking to go, we could jump Chelsea here. And even if we don't jump Chelsea, we can put distance between Arsenal and United, because they're in the Europa League. You will struggle to attract players of a certain calibre. A, because you've Arteta in charge, and it's Arsenal. And B, it's a new manager at Manchester United, right? The business so far, Perisic is a really good one. I don't think he fancies Ben Davies as a left wing back, and I don't think he fancies Reguilon either. I think he only used Reguilon as kind of emergency at times. Yeah. On the right hand side, I think he was actually using the Irish guy left, wasn't he? And and then he was using Emerson Royale at the right. And Emerson Royale is an athlete, but I don't know how. I'm a bit iffy over him. Jed Spence is really highly rated on loan at Nottingham Forest, to get promoted from Middlesbrough. So Middlesbrough in the Championship will probably be looking for 15-20 million quid to bolster their own chances of getting into the Premier League. So that's clever. The Bissouma one makes sense. Bentancur, Højbjerg in the middle of the midfield. I don't think Harry Winks has a future there. So you could literally be taking Harry Winks out and probably getting 10, 12, 15 million for him off somebody, and bringing Bissouma in for 25. If you forget about everything, that's the baggage that's going along there. The Richarlison one is weird. I think it's very hard for Spurs to sign a striker, because it's Harry Kane. It's always Harry Kane. And you have got Son and you have got Kulusevski, but Richarlison's going to run up and down the left and right hand side for you. It's just not going to happen, right? He might do it a bit at Everton because they're going to be relegated, and he tries a bit. But overall, he's not going to. And you've seen how far Lucas Moura has fallen down the pecking order there since basically he got dropped for the Champions League final for a half of Harry Kane. But they're doing good business. And I think they've been linked with Lenglet, haven't they, from Barcelona? That the Torino centre-half, you just said. And the third thing to this, and I'm going on a bit here, but the third thing to this is Antonio Conte will want action. Because I would say what's hanging over Spurs' head is, if we don't do what this fella says, and he's a brilliant manager, by the way, over a certain period of time, with certain tools at his disposal, I don't think he'd be there in 2 years' time, let me say that. But I think if they step out of line with him, he will just be literally going PSG out there. you know,
Yeah.
and they're trying to fend off any potential interest from PSG by showing Antonio Conte that they have ambition. So far so good for Spurs, but they all have to work. You know, they all have to work, and Bentancur has to work again next season. Kulusevski has to work again next season. Harry Kane has to stay fit. So does Son. You know, so overall they're strengthening. I think they're trying to put a distance between themselves and the teams that are behind them, and looking at Chelsea and saying we can go above them. So yeah, so far so good for them, but we'll see how it goes during the window before it closes on August 24th or whatever it is.
Indeed. Ash, I'm going to come back to you. Manchester City, right? They announced Erling Haaland yesterday, like it was some surprise move. It got the world to hear how Haaland was a Man City fan, and people were going mad about this, but his outfit played for Man City when he was a kid, so you know, no doubt that he does have ties to Man City. But they're also linked. Forget about Haaland. We know what he brings to the table, right? They're also linked with Calvin Phillips, strongly linked with Calvin Phillips, 50 to 60 million. Do you see him being a player that City will spend that money on, and do you think he'd have an impact at Man City?
I was shocked. I didn't think that was the caliber of player that Man City was looking for their midfield. So when they put Calvin Phillips links in, I was a bit taken aback by it. And then you look at it and think, well, they kind of need to freshen the midfield up anyway, in regards to the fact that they've got a lot of players who's been there for a while now. And I think they're going to go through a period of time now where they're going to try and bring the average age down as well. I think there's been links that Bernardo Silva is leaving, Mahrez, Sterling. There's an overall of players all of a sudden, and the fact that they've started with Calvin Phillips, I could see why. But then at the same time, is it a short-term thing because he's just got into the England team and he's just a bit of a flash in the pan? I think his legs are gone with what he's done at Leeds the last couple of years. I think he's been absolutely nailed, and the injury is going to come left, right, and centre. But then Man City seems to have the ball a lot more, and they can calm it down. They play a completely different way than Man City, so that could benefit him in that kind of regards. Another player that I've seen him linked for is Cucurella.
Yeah.
From Brighton. It's probably about another 50, 60 million. That's paid that amount of money for left backs, don't they? So that would bring their net spend to about
50 million is the Greenwood fee.
There you go. So that's another £50 million left back, just to add to the rest of them. I think I could see it working, but I don't think I just didn't expect it to be that kind of caliber of player that they're going for. I think it just completely bewildered me why it would be Calvin Phillips, but it does make sense to a certain degree.
Matt, you heard of Man City's business, and Ash touched on it there. Cucurella, Calvin Phillips, and a lot of players being linked with outgoings as well. Are people clutching at straws, and will City just be as strong as they usually are next year? And if they do bring in Cucurella for 50 and Calvin Phillips for, let's say, 50, they don't really give a shit if they work or not, because they've just got a squad there that absorbs these type of transfers. Or do you think it is a bit of a turning point, not a turning point, sorry, a refresh of their squad where, you know, they lose Fernandinho, Asha spoke about Sterling linked away, Bernardo linked away, Mahrez linked away, Jesus linked away. Do you think there might be a bit of a turnover at City there, or is it just wishful thinking from Liverpool fans?
It's probably wishful thinking, and you know, the Haaland transfer, which is brilliant, by the way. I mean, he's a freak of nature. It bothers me that he's going to be playing for Man City next year because he is really good. So that's a brilliant bit of business. But when you looked at City's squad towards the end of the season, you know, they picked up one or two injuries, and all of a sudden when they're in a title race coming down the last 3 or 4 games of the season and they've got 4 kids on their bench sort of thing, like their squad isn't as deep. It's the reason why the narrative kind of switched from Liverpool doesn't have a squad that's strong enough to compete with Man City to all of a sudden at the end of the year, Pep was standing there crying poor about how many massage table visits his players had to take, you know, after playing Atletico Madrid. Like they're the first English team to play Atletico sort of thing. So I don't imagine a lot of players will be leaving City. I heard that the price they set for Bernardo Silva was £80 million. It's hard to picture a lot of clubs coming in with £80 million for Bernardo Silva. You know, Raheem Sterling probably will eventually lose his place to Jack Grealish, but he doesn't need to leave, and Jesus could leave. But, if City are going to set a price on it because they don't want to be made fools of, everybody knows that money's kind of no object to them in Newcastle, but they're still businessmen. They're not going to want to have their pants pulled down or anything like that. So if they hold out for, 40 or 50 million for Gabriel Jesus, it's hard to see a lot of clubs coming in. Arsenal will have to get real desperate to be putting that kind of cash down for him. So it'll just be business as usual for Man City, and they'll go into next season and have a bench that's worth more than 15 Premier League teams combined.
Indeed, Gav, Man City. Haaland is obviously an exceptional player. He's one of the most highly sought forward players in Europe, in the world. Do you see the likes of Phillips and Cucurella as being strengthened Man City's options, or is it just squad fillers as well? And the Haaland is just the sort of blockbuster, and the other two lads will just be there if and when they're needed.
It's always interesting with City because you don't usually hear about a lot of outgoings of City. The outgoings of City are usually quite quiet. Players that have been out of contention or kind of being in the background and don't do an awful lot for City, and they go and City get 15 and 20 million here and there, and that's it. I kind of see something happen at City this summer though, and I think that thing where if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting different outcomes, it's a bit silly. And I think Pep might be at that at the moment. He might be looking, going, look, this team has been overall kept together for 4 or 5 years. If you look at De Bruyne, you look at Fernandinho, you look at Rodri even now. I think that was his 3rd or 4th season at City now. You look at Mahrez. Mahrez must be there 5 years now, I think, at this stage. Sterling, Jesus. There's a load of players, Kyle Walker. There's a load of players there. Yeah, there's loads of players there that are there for 3-4 years, and they've all had a crack at the Champions League, and it just hasn't worked. And maybe he is looking and going, I can get a few out. They're still really, they'd be seen as really valuable transfers in the market at the moment. And Calvin Phillips makes a bit of sense to me. I don't think he can come in and be absolutely demanding to play every week. They do need someone that can help out Rodri, a little bit like Liverpool needs someone that can help out Fabinho, because as good as Liverpool and Man City are at having a lot of the ball, their defence midfielders do an awful lot. They cover an awful lot. Rodri covers so much ground for Man City. He's covering full-backs, he's covering the midfielders in front of him. He's dropping in at centre-half at times if he needs to. If centre-halves go forward, they do an awful lot of running. And the Calvin Phillips one kind of makes sense. It lowers the age profile, as one of the lads said there. He's gettable from Leeds. Injury concerns, yeah, but he'd come in there and he'd be seen as a replacement for Fernandinho, or a long-term replacement. I don't know if Fernandinho leaves this summer. I'm not too sure.
He's retiring, I think.
Is he gone? Okay. So they will. I think they will bring someone in there. Cucurella is interesting because I think you'll see Cancelo going to the right back, and you could see Cucurella playing there with Zinchenko as his backup. He's really good going forward, Cucurella. He's a really good footballer. He can actually play. He's probably a better wing back than a full back. But anytime I've seen him, I've been really impressed with him. Kyle Walker will probably end up going back in as a cover at right back, but will probably end up playing a lot of centre back and being used there, because he did moan Pep about lack of options and stuff like that. Now he has got Diaz, he has got Laporte, he has got Stones, he has got Ake, but Ake's been linked with a move to Newcastle. And you might see him. I'm not saying they're just bringing them in for the sake of bringing them in. I think they will play a part, but I think it's about filling out this squad again. And Haaland makes a massive difference. Jesus looks like he's on his way out. There's been links with Mahrez, there's been links with Sterling leaving the club. And I could possibly see one of them leaving as well. I think they might go with something different. Like Foden is a fantastic player. He's going to be, if he's not the number one on the team sheet up front alongside Haaland, there's something wrong. And I think when he's looking at Sterling and Mahrez, he's thought they've had 4 or 5 years now. Like Sterling's there 7 years. And I think he might just look and go, I'm going to sacrifice one of these for something else. And I think the quality can still be there. I think the numbers can still be there. We can be a bit different, and it'll give us a bigger chance to win the Champions League while still being able to defend the Premier League title. So I think you will see movement at Man City, and they probably need it, because when you look at the amount of years they're there, and I know they've won loads of trophies, and we have players similar, but we seem to be, we've hit the barrier of the Premier League. We've gone through that. We've gone through the Champions League barrier. We're looking to just cement our place as a really top side. They can't, in their own mind, they can't be seen as that until they win the Champions League. And I'm not sure he's convinced that what he has at his disposal now, going into next season, even with Haaland, is a lot of the same. And I think he might think just a change, just a freshness might get him over the line. So I think you will see moving from him.
Representing the Lawson clan, we've Garrett Lawson in the chat there saying not many will move with the World Cup on the horizon, which is a good point. You know, you wouldn't expect much movement, but I do think City, you know, there is that need maybe to freshen up a bit, you know, and the likes of Sterling, the most likely I think you're looking at Sterling and Jesus to move on, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm not going to spend much time. I think Leeds have done good business. They brought in Marco Rocca today from Bayern Munich, which would be the replacement for Calvin Phillips, and Jesse March looks to be getting in. You know, he's brought in Brendan Aronson, and he's brought in I can't think of that fella's name, Rasmus Christensen. From, you know, he's getting them Salzburg players in and linked with Taki as well. You know, and it makes sense because Taki was a good player under him as well at Salzburg. So Leeds look like they're doing good business. We're linked again with Rafinha. And I want to move on to some players that Liverpool are linked with before we wrap up. So Rafinha being linked with Liverpool again. Ash, do you think there's anything in this one, or is it just he's being linked with everybody else and Liverpool are just getting thrown into the mix now as well?
I was certain that he was going to go to Barca at one point. I thought that was concrete up in January. I thought that was still going to be the case for this summer. So unless I've missed something, and that's not happening no more. I think we've always been linked up with Rafinha for the last 12, 18 months. I think the fee is probably a problem. 60 million, did you say?
Yeah, that's the figure that gets banded.
Is he worth 60 million? I don't think so. I think if Leeds went down and his buyout clause went down to 25, 20 million, I think that's something that we would look at more than the 60 million pound mark. I'm not saying he's a bad player, but if you're going to replace Salah, then you're going to want someone who's probably a little bit more proven than Rafinha in the goal scoring front. I could understand why we are linked to him, but I generally thought he was going to Barcelona. It might still happen. You don't never know. They seem to pull a rabbit out of the hat all the time, don't they, with their finances? They can't sign someone one week, but all of a sudden they're announcing potentially Lewandowski next week or Rafinha in the week after, and whatever that looks like. So I can see the links, I can see why, but I can't see us buying him personally. No,
Barcelona having a pot to piss in. They bid on Gav last week and then backed away because they couldn't afford him. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to what Barcelona are doing.
That's because I wanted the Soldier cans to give the Soldier cans instead of the standard.
They couldn't guarantee. But lads, Liverpool, right? Matt, I'll come to you. Can you see Liverpool doing any more business? I know we're strongly linked with the young Aberdeen lad, Calvin Ramsey. Looks like it probably will get done. Do you see Liverpool doing any business in midfield?
I don't. I think I said before, I think it's wait and see on Bellingham with the release clause next summer. Unless somebody, makes a noise somewhere and says they want to move. Like, personally, I'd be all over Tielemans. If we could get Tielemans out of Leicester for 40 million, 35 million, I'd be all over that. But I think that's probably slightly fanciful how low that figure would be. I'd imagine that Leicester would want, 50, 60 million for Tielemans.
He hasn't signed a new deal, though. I didn't think he signed a new deal, did he?
No, I don't think so.
Oh no, yeah, his deal does expire next summer. So
yeah, because there was big rumors last November, December over Tielemans moving, and then apparently it was going to be he's signing a new deal, and it never materialized.
Yeah, like he's 25, he's a good age. Even if it's in a work, I guess you can't announce pre-agreements with the same country in January, sort of thing. But that's about it. I mean, there's news that Ruben Neves might be up for sale from Wolves. Again, it depends on the price. I don't see Liverpool spending big on a midfielder, but if you can get somebody that's somewhat proven for a decent price.
There is a lot of links, and I think that's the key. I can't see us spending big. Gav, have you any names come across that are exciting you? So Matt touches on Tielemans, Ruben Neves. I've seen Konrad Laimer off Leipzig being linked. I've seen Kudio Kone off Mönchengladbach. We've seen Amadou and Onana off Lille. We've seen Ibrahim Sangare off PSV. And they all, it just seems to be a case where people are just throwing midfield names into the hat for Liverpool. Can you see any business being done now? Are you feeling like Liverpool are going to get business done early and there is one surprise to come? Or do you think Ramsey and maybe that's it?
Look, there's all sorts going on with Ramsey. There was talk it was 4 million, possibly going to 6 or something like that. And of course, it'll be reported as 6 because that's what you do with Liverpool now. You don't actually put the transfer fee in. You have to put everything in, and his expenses for the biscuits during the week is going to be added to that as well. That's how we work with Liverpool now. And then it was like, Aberdeen want more money. Calvin Ramsey's in Dubai. I've seen someone posted up his Instagram today. He's in Dubai. Like, he's not going anywhere for the minute. I think that's still in a stage where it's just being maybe close to finalised, and then he would travel to Liverpool. But he's as it looks like he's on his holidays, with his girlfriend or whatever. Something you said, Keith, is sticking in my head. And when you said, if you haven't done Tchouaméni, why do you just turn your attention and sign Darwin Nunez? And that stuck in my head because Liverpool don't come across as a team like that. They just don't. We speak, and not only us, loads of Liverpool fans that do podcasts or YouTube or whatever you listen to, and they always speak about how meticulous Liverpool are, how there's a definite plan of where they want to go, how there's so many options in so many positions, and they work off the list that they have and stuff like that. I can't see Liverpool, who are most definitely in for Aurelien Tchouaméni, turning and going, they can get him, let's go and find a striker. I think they would have done them both if they could. So I think a midfield will happen. Tielemans, I'm torn on Tielemans. I think he's a really good player, but I don't think he's what we need now.
No.
I think someone in the chat said he has Arsenal written all over him. I agree. I think he does have Arsenal written all over him.
Yeah.
But midfield wise, I keep going back to Bellingham. Now maybe I'm just being a bit greedy and saying just go in and try it now, or being stupid, to be perfectly honest with you. And if I am being stupid, I'll hold my hands up. But the talk is that Bellingham has more or less told Dortmund, look, I'll do another year unless something ridiculous happens. And if he does, Liverpool just have to be in the right position for next summer, which by all accounts they are. So you might have to look at that. So, but I still see them doing something. Like I don't want to see Oxlade-Chamberlain leave the club, which I think he will, and not bring a midfielder in. Now, people would say, well, he only started 6 games, he only involved in 15 games. I don't care. What I want is a player that we involved in 25 games or 35 games coming in to replace him. And it's still a number in the squad. It's still a body in the squad. And people would say, oh, well, Tyler Morton's a really good young player, but we're playing for very high stakes here. We've no margin for error. We know this. So I think something in midfield will happen. But I don't think it'd be astronomical money. I think you're probably looking around the 30-40 million mark. And on that sort of money, Sangare has been linked massively from PSV. I really don't know, Keith, because there's names being thrown out every fucking 10 minutes. And I know Liverpool have lists of players, but fuck me, this is A4 pages of stuff at this stage. Yeah. The names coming out. So I think they will do something there. And I think they'll do the right back from Aberdeen. And I think something happens with Salah as well. I genuinely do. I think there's going to be a breaking point with Salah before the end of this summer. I think he'll either sign, or I think Liverpool might look to sell him.
Be interesting if you do that.
I do. And
He's called it.
And look. Let me say very, very clearly here. I want Salah to sign a new deal at Liverpool, 4-year deal, and stay. Right. The worst thing that can happen is Salah leaving. Right, in my opinion, he's not going to get the offers on the table. For me, his agent is trying to push certain agendas to try to get Liverpool to break in some way. Liverpool don't look like breaking, and I just don't know. It's the whole circus around it for me. Once this transfer window ends, it's going to be literally 10 months of incessant stuff about Mo Salah, and you can be as professional as you want and be as far removed as you, or try to be as far removed as you can be, but it will end up getting to people. It will end up affecting things, and I want him to sign a deal. I have a little feeling that something might pop up before the end of the summer. Liverpool might do something up front. Because Salah, if he doesn't sign the deal before the window closes, I think they might look to move him on.
It's hard to move him on if he doesn't want to go.
Yeah,
I know.
I know.
That, but on the other side of that, there's only a handful of teams in the world who'll be able to afford him, and if they think they can get him ahead of the other teams, for example, if Real Madrid think they need a forward player and they don't want to let it go down to an auction next summer, they might come in and bid for him and will give him astronomical money to go there that Salah may be happy with. So something could happen. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that did happen. A name getting loads of mention in the chats there is Matthias Nunez of Sporting Lisbon, and he's a player that's strongly being linked with Liverpool. He was linked with Wolves, but it looks like possibly Liverpool now challenging them for that. An interesting player, but he's, if he's a number 8. He's a very. I was looking at a lot of the stuff wrote about him, and I can't see them bringing in a Nunez now and Jude Bellingham next summer, because they seem quite similar players to me. They're both sort of in the same positions, the same area. So I'd be interested to see. I think they're going to do a midfielder as well, but I think it will be more along the lines of a Sangare or a Kone, a player that can play. Not naturally a number 6, but can cover the number 6 role when Fabinho is injured and needs a rest. And I don't know if a Nunez is that type of player, so it'll be interesting to see what they do. I think.
Go on.
Go ahead.
No,
I was going to say, I think there's a lot of names being linked there, and I think it's exciting. And I think people saying, you have people moaning about, Liverpool's transfer window will be over already. We bring in transfer record, and people are moaning about that. But I just think they're going to go out and do a midfielder, and they're going to do the young lad off Aberdeen as well.
That's the most realistic, and maybe that Salah show has thrown a few people, because there's plenty in the chat going, no, like Jono said, it'd be criminal to sell him. Paul says, nah, leave it out. Salah and Mane in the same year, too much, not happening. The only thing in my head over is, you're looking at the Bellingham thing and you're saying, right, we hold out for a year, because there's no doubt Liverpool want Jude Bellingham, right? I think he's there's too much smoke there without being fair. And Liverpool could look and go, that one we're looking at next one, we'll bring it forward. You know what I mean? Because if they think Salah's running down that contract, they've listed 5, 6 players. You know it. And they're gonna scout the life out of them between now and the end next season. They're gonna start talking to them possibly in the next 6 months. I don't think Liverpool would not be open, is probably the better way to put it. Would be open to the possibility of him leaving this summer, because they plan so well, and they might be able to bring in a target that they think in a year's time would come and replace Mo Salah. But we'll have to wait and see. My hope on it, Salah just goes and says, listen, you're offering that, I want this, can we meet somewhere? And I'll sign 3 years. And everyone goes, great, there you go, bang. And we get it done, because I still think he'll end up as top goal scorer in the league next season.
Yeah. But I agree with you, the circus is going to be...
The circus is what's killing me, yeah.
I agree 100% on that, I do. And I suppose what we have to look at as well is, Liverpool don't do a midfielder this season. There's a lot of work needs next summer then as well, because you're looking at, if they don't go, Oxlade, Chamberlain and Keita are both out of contract. Milner will be out of contract, but will probably sign another role in 1 year. You've got Hendo, Thiago, a year older, Fabinho getting to 30 as well. The midfield all of a sudden needs a big injection in one go, and that's without the Salah and Firmino question up top. Do you know what I mean? So I think if they don't do a midfielder now, there's a lot of work then needed. But maybe I expect Liverpool are on top of these things. But it'll be interesting to see what way they deal with it. But anyway, there's going to be links, many a link over the summer. Some will be credible, some will be bullshit, and we'll be here to talk about them every week. So Gav, anything else you want to add?
No, on transfer wise, no. For the rest of the week, I'm recording In My Life tomorrow. I done one with Matt last week. Really enjoyed it. Who have I got on tomorrow? Andy O'Chill, I think, is on tomorrow. And I have Peter Jones next week. They're all lining up. They all want to go, which is great. I just keep lashing them down the diary. But basically, the premise of the show is, it's not a show. It's not on YouTube. It's going to be on your podcast apps. Basically, the guest brings 3 of their favourite moments from supporting Liverpool. And they don't tell me what they are until we get on and we start recording. And we have a nice chat about it for an hour. That's tomorrow. Thursday, we'll have the viewer's voice. I said yesterday I was playing golf. I am, but I'm going to make it back. We do a viewer's voice on Thursday. Friday will be Sports Unplugged. And then we're back at it then, aren't we? Sunday. The Fatback 4. Don't forget Féileacáin. Phil is now doing some sort of Ironman thing in July for Féileacáin. 31 kilometres of running and swimming and mountain biking and stuff Phil loves, all that sort of madness. But he's doing it for Féileacáin now. He's trying to raise money on that. He's using the same link as what's in our description. So if you want to donate, it's there. We're going to be at 7,500 in the next 24 hours. That's done. So we're at the last 25% now. A real push. So if anyone can share it or donate or just get it out there to as many people as you can across all your social medias, or if you're in the pub with your mates, tell them. Go and do that. IP Vanish is a sponsor for this show as well. 4.6 out of 5 on Trustpilot. Here we go, Keith. You're delighted I'm doing this again. Look, one touch of a button, it protects you as a VPN, it protects your data, your passwords, all that sort of stuff. The link is in the description. www.ipvanish.com/daytrippers. Protect you on your phone, your tablet, your desktop, all that sort of stuff, whether you're at home or on the move. Go and check them out. You're getting it at about $3.20 a month, which is really good. It's 3 to 4. It's about 25% of the average VPN. So go and check that out in the description. And the last thing is that a guy called Phil, who was on my team playing golf last Friday, has started his own YouTube channel. So if anyone's out there is into golf, type into YouTube Breaking Par, The Quest, and it's a brilliant idea he's come up with. It's a brilliant challenge he's set himself. He's literally set the YouTube channel up tonight, and I can't wait to see it. Veranda Cheers has to be in a golf club on the southeast coast of Ireland tomorrow at 6 a.m, which should be, he'll only be allowed to stay up till about another half an hour now, I'd say, on the Xbox before he has to go to bed. But go and check it out. Phil is a lovely, lovely fella. He's mad into his golf. I'm going to try support him on this because it's something that he's really taken on. And even if you're not into golf, it's someone challenging themselves over a short period of time to really get something incredible. So go and check that out. Breaking Par, The Quest. That's it for me.
Excellent. I think you covered everything.
You do. Red Steve, sorry, he says quiz Gav, draft Gav, Andy chat Gav. Yes, quizzes, drafts, yes, we will try to get to from next week. Andy chat, yes, we will try to get to from hopefully start of July-ish. And I'm only guessing on that because Andy is up to his eyes with other things at the moment, so we will do our best on them as well.
Yeah. I'm not saying Andy's a diva, but I think if the more people that go onto Twitter and tell him they miss him, I think you might get him back quicker. Yeah. So look, I just want to say, look, Matt, thanks for coming on. Pleasure having you on. And the In My Life show last week was really good, so I look forward to hearing Andy O'Chill this week. So Matt, thanks for coming on.
Oh no, thank you. It's I'm looking forward to see if Gav chooses to call him Antioch the Third like he wants to, or
not a chance.
Drives. Brilliant. Yeah, good show.
Ash,
great work, Keith.
Good stuff. Ash, pleasure having you on. Thanks for joining us.
No, thank you, mate, for having me on. Brilliant chat as always. Matt, brilliant last week, mate. Loved it. The one-to-one with Gav. Can't wait to hear the next one. Nunez is done. Who's next? We all wait to find out. But let the fume begin on Twitter. Can't wait seeing all these fantastic top reds having a meltdown because we haven't bought anyone else. But apart from that, all good, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent stuff, and Gav, I won't thank you.
No.
You're here all the time. Yeah. Anyway, it's been Charles Darwin's birthday, Charles Bronson's birthday. Liverpool signed Darwin Nunez. What a day, what a time to be alive, what a time to be a Red. We'll be back soon, and we'll see us all again shortly.